Now call to order the hearing on the fiscal year 2023 budget of the House of Representatives. This is a hybrid hearing, so we need to address a few housekeeping issues. For members joining virtually, please be respectful of members in the hearing room and do not talk over them when members in person have been recognized. I will gavel you down if you're virtually harassing us. For the members joining virtually, once you start speaking, there is a slight delay before you are displayed on the main screen. Speaking into the microphone activates the camera, displaying the speaker on the main screen. Do not stop your remarks if you do not immediately see the screen switch. If the screen does not change after several seconds, please make sure you are not muted. Lessons we've all learned for our million Zoom calls we've done over the past couple of years. To minimize background noise and ensure the correct speaker is being displayed, we ask that you remain on mute unless you've sought recognition. The chair or an individual designated by the chair may mute participants' microphones when they are not under recognition to eliminate inadvertent background noise. Members who are virtual are responsible for muting and unmuting themselves. If I notice when you are recognized that you have not unmuted yourself, I will ask you if you would like the staff to unmute you. If you indicate approval by nodding, staff will unmute your microphone. Finally, House rules require me to remind you that we have set up an email address to which members can send anything they wish to submit in writing at any of our hearings. That email address has been provided in advance to your staff. So let's get going. I would like to welcome the officers and officials of the House of Representatives to present the fiscal year 2023 budget request. Testifying before us today, we have the Honorable Cheryl L. Johnson, Clerk of the House, the Honorable Catherine Spindor, Chief Administrative Officer, and the Honorable William J. Walker, Sergeant at Arms, and House officials. Thank you all for joining us today. We welcome you back to our subcommittee. Before we begin with the testimonies, I would like to thank all of the officers, officials, and their staffs for the extraordinary work over the past year. Through the pandemic, a violent mob of insurrectionists, the reopening of the Capitol complex, and just life on Capitol Hill, you continue to serve this body and provide a host of services that are necessary for us to represent our constituents and do the work that will address our country's critical needs. The request for the House of Representatives is $1.8 billion, an increase of $114.5 million over the fiscal year 2022 enacted level. I would like to note this is a significant increase, 7%, over the very healthy increase provided in the fiscal year 2022 budget. With that in mind, I look forward to hearing each of your testimonies. At this point, I would like to yield to the ranking member, my friend and colleague from Washington State, which is the only state named after a United States president, the distinguished gentlewoman Jamie Herrera Butler, for any opening comments that she may have.
Your little dog, too. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And we are, in fact, the only state that has been named after a president, the greatest president. And I just lost my speech. Hold on. I was spending a lot of time in my questions because I'm very excited to have you here today. I know that the work that you do keeps us on track. And so a lot of what I wanted to talk about was well, we'll get to it, but I have so many different questions for you. I'll keep this brief. It's a privilege to have you all here. I'm extremely pleased to see how well your offices are working with the Capitol Police, with the attending physician. You have had no shortage of challenges in the last couple of years, and the other legislative branch entities to open the Capitol complex, to give access to our constituents and visitors in a way that maximizes our safety. It's definitely a new time, but it's energizing, I think, to see everybody coming back and the opening of services and the food services as more staff are able to come back to work in the office and tour groups are able to come back to the Capitol. Thank you for all that you are doing in this reopening effort. We truly, truly appreciate it, and I encourage everything we can do to get to that full opening, which I know is high up on your list. Your offices have continued to expand and improve your services in a very unpredictable year and a difficult year. From the cybersecurity improvements executed by the CIO and real-time situational awareness to the House security vulnerabilities, to modernize efforts by the Clerk for easy-to-use, secure, and reliable technology solutions. You know what the rest of of the private sector and what they're using. We're bringing that into the U.S. House of Representatives, and it will make the House more efficient, as well as making access to the information easier for the public, which is incredibly important. You continue to show ingenuity and flexibility to ensure that the People's House improves its efficiency and transparency while preparing the future for the future with these modernization efforts that are going to serve the House community for years to come. So as the committee evaluates your budget requests for FY23, there are some substantial increases in here that we're going to need to review. I'm looking forward to talking with you about and hearing how you're going to continue to improve the capabilities and the efficiencies of the House of Representatives. So with that, thank you so much, and I yield back.
Thank the gentlelady from Washington. Witnesses, at the beginning of your testimony, please introduce any colleagues that you have that are here that you'd like us to recognize. And without objection, each of your written testimonies will be made part of the record. I ask each of you, the clerk, the sergeant-at-arms, and the chief administrative officer, to summarize your remarks and highlight your efforts of the past year to the committee. And after opening statements, we will move to the question and answer period. And during the question and answer period, we will adhere to the 5-minute rule. Madam Clerk of the House, Ms. Johnson, we will start with you.
Thank you.
Floor is yours.
Good afternoon. Chairperson Ryan, Ranking Member Herrero Butler, members of the subcommittee. Thank you for your support for the office of the clerk and for the opportunity to testify regarding our operations and my fiscal year 2023 budget requests. First, it gives me great pride to report to you that throughout the many challenges of the past 2 years, we have successfully fulfilled our duties supporting the House while simultaneously ensuring the safety of our dedicated staff. As the members of this subcommittee are aware, the work of the House did not slow during COVID. In fact, work performed by clerk staff measurably increased since the start of the pandemic. I remain immensely proud of our committed staff for meeting the many challenges they've confronted, even in the face of significant risks to their own health and well-being. The Office of the Clerk consists of specialized professional staff across 9 divisions who support not only House and committee proceedings, but also members and staff directly. This past year has been particularly busy for our staff. We have continued our long-standing duties, such as maintaining the House Journal, certifying the passage of legislation, transmitting messages and bills to the Senate and the President, providing member training, managing vacant offices, and performing archival and curatorial services to the House. But in addition to these duties, we have undertaken a number of initiatives to add new services, as well as improve existing ones for the benefit of members, staff, and the public. The Office of the Clerk quickly implemented new systems and processes in response to new legislative rules born by the global pandemic. We have since worked diligently to further improve and enhance those systems and processes as they have become heavily utilized. For example, the e-hopper is now the vastly preferred way for members to introduce bills. with more than 9 out of 10 bills submitted electronically. I am pleased to tell you that we will soon roll out an enhanced eHopper solution with improvements in the experience for you and your staff. We are continuing the redevelopment and redesign of the Legislative Information Management System, known as LIMS. LIMS is one of the two most important systems which supports the legislative process in the House, with the other being the electronic voting system. And the redesign project is one of the largest IT projects the clerk office has ever undertaken. This subcommittee is also well aware of another IT initiative in our office known as the Comparative Print Project, which will allow you and your staff to create on-demand, point-in-time comparative prints between legislative texts and between legislative text and current law. We are excited to be nearing the time when we will be rolling this new service out house-wide in the coming months. I appreciate this subcommittee's ongoing support for the operations of our office. For fiscal year 2023, I respectfully request $40,327,000 for the office of the clerk. This is an increase of 10.48% above the fiscal year 2022 enacted funding level. 83% of this funding request will support salaries, training, and technology to carry out existing and new responsibilities. The remaining 17% of this request is for non-personnel related expenses, equipment, software maintenance, warranties, and contracts, such as closed captioning, exhibition, curation, and stenographic reporting. Mr. Chairman, Ranking Member Herrero Butler, subcommittee members, the Office of the Clerk is dedicated to making efficient and effective use of funds allocated to our efforts in serving this great institution. Thank you for this opportunity, and I look forward to your questions.
Thank you so much. We'll next go to the Chief Administrative Officer, Ms. Spindor.
Chairman Ryan, Ranking Member Herrera Butler, and members of the subcommittee, thank you for this opportunity to present the fiscal. Sorry, I did. I project. So our FY23 budget request includes an increase of $18 million, approximately 9% above the FY22 enacted funding level. Our requested increase includes $5.9 million for technology initiatives critical to House operations to strengthen the cybersecurity of House cloud resources, improve the House network, improve member office technology, streamline the onboarding and offboarding process for House staff, expand House data storage and archival and retrieval services, and continue the support for remote and meetings and proceedings. $5 million of our requested increase is defined as the CAO's new Emerging Projects Investment Fund to provide accountability for specific high-priority, high-impact projects. Often these projects are requested by CAO leadership, House leadership, or committees and key stakeholders. This fund ensures the CAO champions those investments which directly meet the priorities of the House. $1.3 million of our request will provide our logistics and support team with contractor support and equipment needed for district office inventories, the CAO TV program, and to acquire and deliver new furniture. Finally, $5.8 million of our request is allocated for increases in personnel longevities and a cost of living adjustment. The CAO continues to deliver new services and improve services for the House. Launched in August 2021, the HR Hub is growing and a valuable resource for member staff, containing more than 125 documents and resources to assist member office staff to hire, develop, and retain staff. The CAO will continue to expand the HR Hub to include job descriptions and career paths for common roles in member offices. As part of the HR Hub, the CAO will launch the House Resume Bank, where prospective applicants can submit their resumes for specific job roles. Office staff can then select candidates from the resume bank based on their hiring needs and preferences. The Office of Employee Assistance and the Center for Wellbeing will continue to explore new resources and services to directly support all House offices, including self-help mobile apps, new partnerships to enrich our capabilities, and provide helpful and needed services to House staff. Since June 2021, the CAO's new training program called CAO Coach has provided over 50 training events, some with more than 300 participants, and 580 one-on-one coaching sessions geared to member staff. Staffed by former chiefs of staff and district directors, with 2 legislative directors joining the team very soon, the CAO Coach program will continue to meet in-demand training, provide one-on-one support for member and district office staff. Earlier this year, the CAO launched the Congressional Excellence Program, which pairs members and their chiefs with leadership and organizational development experts to build a compelling vision of service, display excellence in leadership, and make a significant impact on behalf of their districts and our nation. We anticipate this program to grow in coming years. Through our strategic focus on planning, prioritizing, and executing our projects, we are confident the planned FY 2023 investments, priorities, and initiatives will support and facilitate the work of the People's House and the members and staff who serve it each day. Thank you for your continued support and for the opportunity to present the CAO's FY 23 budget request. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Sergeant at Arms Walker.
Good afternoon, Chairman Ryan, Ranking Member Herrera Butler, and members of the Appropriations Subcommittee. I appreciate the opportunity to present the Office of the Sergeant at Arms budget request for fiscal year 2023. It's an honor and privilege to serve this great institution and our nation as the 38th Sergeant at Arms. With me this afternoon is Ms. Kim Campbell. She's the Deputy Sergeant at Arms, and Ms. Kathleen Joyce. She's my Chief of Staff. Before going into my budget overview, I would like to frame the risk environment for the Capitol Complex, members of Congress, and this institution as an enterprise. The risk and threat atmosphere, especially for members, has increased significantly and dramatically over the past year to 18 months, and it continues, unfortunately, to grow. This unfortunate circumstance has been confirmed by intelligence information from federal law enforcement agencies and others in our federal government. Their assessment is that threat actors are promoting acts of violence against government organizations and legislators on the federal, state, and local levels. In view of this growing threat, the Sergeant at Arms fiscal year 2023 budget request is $38,793,000. This request includes $16,558,000 to fund 168 full-time equivalent positions, plus 14 new FTEs for a total of 182 full-time equivalent, and $22,235,000 for non-personal items. The $11,098,000 increase over FY22 over the FY22 enacted budget is ascribed to additional personnel required to strengthen Sergeant-at-Arms staffing levels, in addition to enhance the safety and security of this complex, its members, its staff, and all visitors. This office has leveraged risk analysis to enhance our situational awareness and enable Sergeant-at-Arms staff in partnership with the United States Capitol Police to develop comprehensive and seamless security plans. Because of the growing threats that I mentioned and directions of interest communications, we continue to focus on the 5 dimensions of member security that I noted in my previous testimony before this body. And they are member security on Capitol grounds, member security at their residences, member travel security, special events in members' home districts, and I might add here in the nation's capital as well, mass member events. I feel strongly that the Capitol Police should be made aware of those events, and then active threats against members of Congress that we are relentlessly pursuing. The hope is that we dissuade them with judicial action. Accordingly, I offer an overview of my FY23 budget request, highlighting some of the significant physical and other security measures and strategies that are ongoing or brand new. As noted in my January testimony, dynamic, proactive security, mission critical, must have an integrated focus on a comprehensive security plan for this Congress. Some specific and important security initiatives that I'd like to note are as follows. We need to replace the escape hoods and the victim rescue units, VRUs, that are at the end of their life cycle. That alone is $5 million. That's 17,000 units that we need. Providing access to a standard security package for members' residents, strengthening the district office security program, including security systems, installations, mail safety devices, and periodic security briefings. Need to increase security awareness and threat mitigation, briefings for district law enforcement coordinators. I'd like to share with you a book at the end of my presentation that we put together. Next, emphasizing that law enforcement coordinators have the knowledge, skills, abilities, and hopefully the access and reach, as well as the credibility to serve as a vital link between members and their local law enforcement to ensure any security measures are met, any security needs. We need to procure software to support emergency operations, conduct pre-event planning for evacuation, sheltering, and specified internal relocation drills. Continuing the implementation of the Joint Audible Warning System being developed collaboratively with the Capitol Police, and have the USCP, the Capitol Police, replace the outdated Annunciator system, which will enhance the life safety notification system for the United States House of Representatives. We also want to continue our contracted services and continue with rehired annuitants, and you've been very gracious with that, but we need more. With security subject matter expertise, people with deep knowledge and experience in security and protective intelligence, to provide greater capability and capacity to effectively address the executive protection, intelligence, and special event security responsibilities of this office. The hiring of additional Sergeant-at-Arms staff to increase effectiveness in the following areas: police services, emergency management, parking security, and information services. Many members, as you know, receive threats and unusual directions of interest communications that understandably raise concerns for members, their families, and staff. The number of threatening communications has dramatically increased over the past several years, and these threats have become more visceral and violent. For example, since January 2022 to yesterday, there have been 1,811 threatening communications made against members of Congress. Furthermore, in 2021, there were 9,625 investigations related to threatening communications against members of Congress. Accordingly, my office, specifically the Police Services Division, continues to proactively interface with member offices to coordinate security for special events or mass member events that take place off Capitol grounds. In 2021, Police Services staff, along with the United States Capitol Police, conducted 51 security awareness briefings for member offices. Since January of 2022, Police Services has conducted 5 security awareness briefings. In 2021, Police Services had 6,446 interactions with member district offices and have 950 interactions to date. Accordingly, I am asking for 6 new full-time equivalents to optimize this critically important division and better provide services to members both in Washington, D.C. and in their residences. When a member office desires law enforcement support for an event, the Sergeant-at-Arms requests that the United States Capitol Police provide a security assessment. If the United States Capitol Police security assessment determines that protection is warranted, we work collaboratively with the Capitol Police and other federal, state, and local law enforcement to ensure protection is provided. Protective services can range from a notification to a police department to an actual USCP presence. My office will continue to coordinate with security experts, intelligence professionals, and leverage physical security countermeasures to develop and maintain optimal technical and operational security postures for the Capitol. These important physical and other security efforts continue to be coordinated with the Architect of the Capitol, the Senate Sergeant-at-Arms, the Chief of Police, as well as the Committees of Jurisdiction. Lastly, our FY 2023 budget requests continue to support funding for staff travel, including advanced operational planning and other large-scale off-campus events attended by members of Congress. Funding will continue to provide critical, job-specific training for my staff in the areas of leadership, management, professional development, information technology, and emergency preparedness. Funding will continue to cover communication services for all divisions of the Sergeant-at-Arms, as well as printing of emergency preparedness brochures, district security training material, etc. In closing, the FY 2023 budget request has been prepared in the spirit of zero-based budgeting without jeopardizing mission-critical services provided to the House community. Thank you once again for the opportunity to appear before you this afternoon. I am profoundly grateful for the committee's unwavering support, to our sincere efforts to preserve the delicate balance between necessary and required security measures and an open Capitol. Finally, let me thank my staff for their hard work and unwavering commitment to excellence. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have. Thank you again.
Fantastic. Thank you for the testimony. We're really proud of the work that you've done over the last year or two and all of your teams. So make sure you let them know. And we're going to start the question and answer. We're going to start with the ranking member, Ms. Herrera Butler. You have 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I'll speak quickly. Ms. Spencer, I'm just going to be brief because I want to get as many out as I can. Your office is requesting to realign funds from various business units to establish a CAO investment fund. The purpose of the fund is very broad in saying it's projects. Saying it is for projects that would impact member, committee, and leadership offices, and I was hoping you could elaborate what the $5 million fund will be used for, why you believe it's necessary, and who would make decisions for its use.
Thank you. The investment fund is really, I think of it as a way of having us pulling funds that we have asked for traditionally when in each of our business units. These are funds that each of our business units have put forward for their budget this year. But they were for large projects that we feel like are better managed if they are then brought into an investment fund picture. where we set those aside. From a management perspective, we're making some very important decisions about them as we go through, evaluate the projects, better understand them.
Can I
And-
ask, just so that because I'm still, I'm fuzzy on the different business units. Could you just, is it possible to give me examples so that I follow you easier?
No,
Thank you.
that's fine. Within the CAO, we have the Finance Department,
Mm-hmm.
Procurement, Logistics, the HIR, House Information Resources, all of those are our business units within the CAO. Traditionally, when we've done our budget, we accumulate through zero-based budgeting the budgets that for each of those business units, including any special projects that they may have been asked to include or work on in the future years. And I'll give you an example, okay? The digital service program is an example of one. Some of the modernization that we're doing in web services is an example.
So this is money they are going to be asking for each year.
Anyway.
And so when so as part of the budget, I still don't totally understand how.
We're not moving them really from out of the budget. They're part of the budget. We're conceptualizing them as part of this investment program that we're doing. And all that really means is that they're going to have higher level of oversight. We're going to make sure that we are evaluating each one of those projects to ensure that when we get ready to get started with it, we can execute it.
Okay.
And I know that in the past, sometimes we've had projects that we've started and we thought when we first asked for the money that we were going to be able to get everything done that was needed for that project in a particular year. However, after we got into the project, we did our requirements.
Is this a $5 million start to it?
It's just,
And so the $5 million will
yes.
be a cushion fund?
Well, actually, the $5 million is what they would have had in their business units anyway.
Okay. As
We're
part of
not
okay.
creating any type of slush fund or
Got it.
anything
Okay.
like that. We're just simply saying you have this particular project in your business unit.
And
It is a major project.
Thank you. I apologize. I need to switch gears just because I'm watching my time, and I may follow up with a little. Thank you for breaking it down.
I hope that helps.
Thank you. It does. Thank you. Thank you. General Walker, the Capitol Police is currently working to bring on security contractors temporarily to help supplement their sworn officers to reopen the Capitol and to make sure all the security demands are met. And I understand in your budget request, you also have requested an increase in non-personnel costs due to contracted services to assist with controlling access to the House chamber and galleries during peak visitation. And what I wanted to ask is the Sergeant of Arms suffering from a similar attrition as the Capitol Police that you would need the supplemental security contractors, or is this just standing practice for chamber security during peak visitation?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for the question. That's the latter. It is a standing practice. So these are seasonal people that come on, they come off, they come back on. And fortunately, we're not suffering from the attrition that the United States Capitol Police is having.
And I'll save for another round. Thank you for that.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank the gentlelady. We're going to go virtual here with the distinguished gentleman from New York, Mr. Espaillat.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you. My question is for the Honorable Catherine Spindor. And the CAO budget calls for $2 million to support cybersecurity for cloud modernization of House services. And in it, you list 14 cybersecurity priorities. How does this complement the cybersecurity enhancement called by the Sergeant at Arms? And how do the two entities work together to ensure that the House network is secure, from external cyber attacks.
Thank you, sir. The Sergeant of Arms staff and our staff work very closely from a cybersecurity standpoint. The House CISO, Randy Vickers, is here with me today, and he spent quite a bit of time with both the clerk's organization as well as the Sergeant of Arms, making sure that we're all working together on behalf of ensuring that we are securing the House from a cyber attack of any type, as well as just having common day-to-day practices that ensure we're following good cyber practices at the House. The money that we are spending, as opposed to what maybe the general is spending here, has to do with a lot of our hardware, our software, ensuring that we are improving our cloud services architecture and the software that then surrounds that architecture to ensure we're preventing any type of intrusion into it. And the same is true for a lot of our other systems, not just cloud, but many of our other systems that we run every single day within the House on behalf of the members and the staff, such as our payroll and benefits system, our HR system, and others. So a lot of our money goes internally to the architecture that supports the bedrock of our technology within the House.
Thank you, thank you. My next question is for General William J. Walker. And since the emergency security supplemental became law, what steps has the Sergeant of Arms implemented to improve communications with members of Congress, the public, and other stakeholders since the insurrection? And how will this fiscal year 2023 budget you propose build on that progress?
So thank you for the question, Congressman. So we use the money for communication to members. Is that the question?
Yes. How have you? What steps have you taken to improve communications with members of Congress, the public, and other stakeholders?
Well, not so much with the public, but we are focused on the members. So Police Services has reached out to all the members through the law enforcement coordinator and through the district security office. So that's how we're using the funds. But if I'm hearing a suggestion that we need to do more with the public, we will look into that. But right now, we communicate on a regular basis with the members and their staff.
Thank you both. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I yield back.
Thank you, gentlemen. The distinguished gentleman from Washington State.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you all for being here with us today and talk about your proposed budget requests. As we were speaking just informally before the hearing, the public is coming back. The halls are filling up. There's now lines in places. It takes longer to get from point A to point B, but I think we'd all agree it's a good thing that the People's House is beginning to open. So thanks for your efforts to make that happen. And I look forward to continuing that process so that we're fully open as soon as possible. But I wanted to, I appreciate Major General Walker, you contacting me last week when we were able to talk about some of these issues, and I expressed to you some of my concerns about where we are in that process. And I just wanted to expound on those this afternoon. And so I've got several questions, and I'll just express them to you, and we can have that conversation. So just to start with, where within the House protocol and chamber operation policies is it written that the House appointments desk, which you know I have an issue with, must take the names and information of individuals when they attempt to visit the United States Capitol? And what is done with those names, what is done with that information of the individuals visiting after they've visited? Is there a log or a database that's maintained? Who has access to that information that's provided to the House Appointments Desk? If I recall, you said you're the 38th Sergeant at Arms. You were installed on April 26th of 21. This practice of taking these names and visitor information began last fall when our office became necessary to submit these names by email. There was an online submission form, I think has a date on it of February of 22. So was the collection of these names and information your decision, or perhaps you directed by someone, for instance, Speaker of the House, to make this change? Where is the change in policy in written form that's accessible to members of Congress and to the public? And what kind of metrics did you follow in making the decisions to require this information? And just probably a coincidence, but this morning, as you know, it was raining. I had a appointment this morning. The guests arrived at the door of the Cannon Building a full hour before the appointed appointment. By the time they got to my office, we had about 5 minutes remaining for an available meeting because of I think there was probably 100 people backed up at the door, standing in the rain, waiting to get in, just so they could go through this process of giving names and information. So just trying not to be, just want some information on why we have to keep doing this. It's truly a bottleneck, and it's impeding the work that needs to be done here. So.
Thank you, Congressman Newhouse. Thank you for your time last week. So I answered it in reverse order. There is no system of record in the House Sergeant at Arms. So the names are not run against anything. The names, when I got here, the names were being collected with the thought that they would be kept for 60 days and then destroyed. Sorry about that. So I'll just recap. When I got here, the names were being requested for 60 days, and then they would be, there is no system of record, so the names would be destroyed after 60 days. So a decision is going to be made to not have the names anymore this week. So I'll be publishing that soon. There is no other information, it's just a name. And without date of birth, place of birth, and others, what can you do with it?
Can I say hallelujah here?
Sir?
Can I say hallelujah here? Yeah.
Yes, sir. But I just want to manage expectations. So I go around the complex as well, outside and in. And this morning I saw the long lines. So the expectation I want to manage is that on some doors there was one metal detector working, and that's a symptom of not having enough Capitol Police officers. So the names will speed it up. Not requiring the names will speed up, but the lines will still be, it won't be just coming in, because you're still going to have to negotiate the metal detectors, and there's less officers there. So I want to be clear, there is no system of record. No one keeps these names. No one puts these names through a database. The names are just kept. And from my research, the thinking was, if something were to happen, law enforcement would have a starting point to go and find out who was here. My experience is you would need more than the name. So my name, for example, even my full name, William Joseph Walker, is extremely common. You need more than that. So I look to see it disappear this week.
I appreciate that.
Yes, sir.
And thanks for that information. The other question, just stemming from your testimony today, you went through a long list of things, that improvements and necessary changes in safety and protocol, policing needs, and all those kinds of things. But I think the chairman would agree, a 60% increase in appropriated budget is huge, the one that bears at least some perusal. Could you help me understand some of those things I think are one-off, so to speak, so replacing some of the hoods and things like that, but about how much of the budget is going to be ongoing? Is this going to be a new level of requirements moving forward, or are we going to get back to some level of maintaining what we had been more normal in the last few years?
Well, thank you, Mr. Newhouse. So I'll just talk about the hoods first. The hoods were way beyond their life cycle, and then they were used effectively on January 6th. So we have to replace those hoods.
Yeah, I'm not questioning the need for that. Just that's one example of
$11
something
million.
that's a one-off purchase that increases the budget need this year, but next year won't be there, perhaps. So we'll be.
No, it won't be there next year. But that $11 million, that was a big chunk of it.
Yeah.
Just to replace that, and then the additional funds. It's all real money, but the additional funds is to acquire and bring on subject matter experts, really practitioners in protection, in intelligence, in security, and we need those people.
And many of those costs will continue on into the future than you're anticipating.
Well, I anticipate that would be a stable cost because we'll keep them. Hopefully, we'll get 3 to 5 years out of these people, and then we will train the people we have here, and then the cost should go down. But I'm bringing in subject matter experts from across federal law enforcement to help us better understand what's facing us. And then as I grow people and develop people, as part of it was leadership development to get the skills that we need to better protect the campus, better protect the members, their families. I'll develop subject matter experts in-house, and then the cost should go back down.
I appreciate that. And
Yes, sir.
thank you. And I see I've gone way over my time, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Good questions, Mr. Newhouse, thank you. So I'm going to try to get through a few of the questions here that we would like to better understand. I'm going to start with the CAO. We were talking a little bit about cyber attacks. I may have missed it, but is there a specific number that in the line item for cyber that you're asking? I know there is. What is that specific number, and what's the increase?
There is a specific. For cybersecurity.
Is your mic on? Now I'm paranoid about it, so.
I'm getting that
Okay.
one, yes. For cybersecurity, our budget execution for this year is is 26 million for cyber, 130,000. That is about a 17.2% increase. And included in that is a number of things for cyber, which is the increase in some of our contractor dollars that we have. We're renegotiating some of our contractors, which we use a fairly large percentage, both for on-site as well as we have a contract with an outside firm that does 7x24 monitoring of our network around the clock. So there's some increase there. Then also just increases on the type of technology that we're using for cloud. There is a technology, and I'm not going to go in and try and explain it, but it is using containers around our applications so that we can, it's a type of technology that builds in the security into the container where your application is. And there has been a lot of time and effort spent by the cybersecurity team in working with our application staff in being able to get that technology up and going.
How
and
many
it
of
is
the
modern.
personnel, how many people are working as contractors on cyber?
On cyber, there's probably about, and I'm gonna have to ask Randy, it's about,
We have about 70%, about 70 people out of the 102 that are on my staff. I still have some vacancies on the FTE, but I have about 70 contractors.
Okay, great. As far as the prevention of cyber attacks, I mean, I think we're seeing a lot with everything going on in Ukraine, just this broader kind of awareness happening now about cyber. Is there anything you're concerned with that we need to know about with regard to any kind of cyber attack here?
well, we certainly are in a hyper state of visual review of everything that's going on. And I know that Randy and his team are working in the cybersecurity group. They are working daily for any indication of anything coming in from outside of our network.
And maybe we should do that offline in a more classified setting, which probably
Right.
better.
We can do any type of cyber briefing to the staff.
Yeah, I think we're gonna probably get that scheduled. I want to talk a little bit with you about the House Wellness Center.
Yes.
You know, this place was a very, very difficult place, high stress environment prior to COVID and prior to January 6th. And so this is a very important, I think, component of our strategy to retain and make sure we're taking care of the workforce here that are public servants and they're serving the country. I'm really proud of Brian and his team and what they've been able to do in the last couple of years, rolling out a lot of these resiliency-based programming for staffers. And it's really important to me, and I know the committee, to continue to provide the rollout of these new programs to support the staff, the members, and the Capitol Police. So if you could just talk a little bit about any needs that you see within the wellness, any kind of programming that you anticipate the center or OEA providing in the next year that builds upon the work that we've done. I know there's only 11 FTEs right now, and so how are you growing your staff to meet the operational and administrative challenges?
We are increasing the staff. Within the next year, we should have approximately 15 full-time counselors in OEA. And we're going to be adding 2 more full-time individuals to the Center of Wellbeing as well. We also have a fellow from the Green and Gold Star family that is working there. And so we have a lot planned with those individuals, and it's a good thing that we're going to be able to improve the staff levels there. In the Center for OEA, we intend to continue to increase in-person and virtual retreat services, both in DC and across the nation and territories, by going out and actually working with the offices. I know that the OEA team has been very instrumental in working with our coach program in many of the sessions that we've been having with staff in the district office. They have participated as well, especially when it has to do with casework and some of the things that the individuals in the district office are going through.
I'd never heard of this coach program. I love it. It sounds terrific.
It
So we
is.
maybe need to do a better job of getting it out. So
It is remarkable what is happening as far as the feedback we're getting from district office staff. It is tremendous. And we had a district, and we're getting off the subject, but we had a district office directors fly in last Thursday and Friday, and we had over 100 district office directors here for a 2-day event, and it was really remarkable. So the OEA team is working very carefully with that. They're also looking at launching some new apps We currently have a call map that was brought in and is being marketed heavily by the Wellness Center. So,
Can we get that to members of Congress? Can we get
pardon,
that to the
calm
comment? Yeah.
us all
Yeah,
down.
yeah.
But the House Center for Wellbeing is really gearing up this year for a number of programs that they're launching in meditation and resilience-based programs. They have a resilient leadership program on transcendental meditation, and they're partnering with the David Lynch Foundation for that. They have a Sky Breath meditation in partnership with the Art of Living Foundation, and the ABCs of Resiliency, which is a program in partnership with the Garrison Institute. So we've got some very good things happening over the rest of this year.
It's fantastic. We're going to do a quick second round here. They did call votes, so we'll, Ms. Herrera Butler.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. General Walker, your budget request includes funding for the establishment of an off-site location, but does not provide further description as to why the site is necessary. What's the capability for the location, for this new location? What capabilities is it bringing to your office and that you don't already have? And unfortunately, briefly, because I'm going to move right in, I have one other question for you.
Yes, ma'am. I'll be as fast as I can read this. So we want to establish an off-site operations to ensure the House can continue emergency operations if an event impacts access to the Capitol complex. Past events have demonstrated that access to and operations from the existing operations center on Capitol grounds could be hindered or not even possible. So establishing an operations center outside of the immediate Washington, D.C., we're looking at probably a 30 to 50-mile radius is what we're looking for, would allow us to continue operations. And I'll stop there in case you have something else, but I've got a couple more paragraphs.
Your office is responsible for the purchase and installation of security systems from our member offices, our district offices, and part of the funding increase you requested would go to increase the service. I wanted to know what the percentage of members who currently utilize the offering, have you noticed an increase in that? And then under that same header in your budget, there's a request for funding for a security program to enhance security for members of Congress, and I was hoping you could elaborate in detail, more
Yes, ma'am.
details.
So the first question, about 83% of members' district offices utilize the funding. The variance could be, there are some member district offices that are in federal locations. And then just asking around, there are some members, believe it or not, their district offices is adjacent to a police department, and in one, police headquarters is on the first floor. So they won't need the money. So it's about 83%, ma'am. And then the second question was?
Security program to enhance security for members of Congress was a new part of your budget request. Can you elaborate a little bit more about what that entails?
So it's aspirational. I'd like to have residential security for all members. I think with the threatening communications that members are receiving, it's untenable. And I want peace of mind, and I hope everybody does as well. So when you come here, you come to work, and your center of gravity back home in Washington, they're safe and secure. So I propose that we have residential security for all 441 customers.
Thank you. And I will yield back to the gentleman who comes from the state where they are the only one to have a non-rectangular flag.
We're including you all in our
She said she was
joke
going to
here.
get you.
Yeah. So I want to do something on the House intern program. I got Ms. Spindor.
Yeah.
This is, something that I interned here way long time ago. And they had just were getting rid of the LBJ internship program, which was a really phenomenal program to help people, that just didn't have the money to be able to come here. White people, black people, brown people, poor, just people who can't afford to come. and have this amazing experience here as a young person. So this intern program is really important to us on the committee, and that's why we have funded it, expanded it to committees. We are now encouraging a portal with the Office of Diversity and Inclusion to really reach into the HBCUs, reach into the minority institutions, so that we are really creating a pipeline of opportunity here for young people all across the country, and super excited about that. So digging in to get resumes and making sure that we establish that is really important. So I have a couple quick questions here. Do you have any information on how members are utilizing their intern allowance? Are they splitting it between several interns, or how, is it district focused here in DC? How are they using it?
Well, I have some statistics for you, and we can share with the committee a report that we submitted, I guess, a couple of months ago to the House Committee on Administration. But about 69% of the funds, which are over $7 million, $7,893,551, were authorized for the calendar year 2021 and were dispersed as of December 31st, 2021. That was 69%. Of the 74% was for the Washington, D.C. House paid interns, 23% for district office paid interns, and 3% was for leadership office House paid interns. Of the total number of interns that participated in the program were 3,624. On an average, 302 were appointed each month. 8 House-paid interns were employed on the average in each participating office. 76 days were the average for employment out of a potential 120. And the average annual salary for each of these was $14,108 out of a potential maximum of $21,600. So we do not have anything without calling the offices individually to say how many of these were only part-time as opposed to full-time. But I think that gives you a pretty good breakdown for how the interns were used.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. We got the clock running here. So we will probably just leave it at this, and we will submit questions, maybe a couple of follow-ups that the committee may have. And we're gonna hustle over to go vote. But I just, again, want to just say thank you. It's been a very difficult year for a lot of folks. And I am going to get official here for a second. I'd like to thank each of you and your teams, and on behalf of the members, our staffs, our constituents, thank you for the work that you're doing. The subcommittee stands in recess until April 27th, 2022, at which time we will receive testimony from the Library of Congress, Government Printing Office, and Architect of the Capitol. So again, please thank all of your staffs for all of the great work, and we'll continue to stay in touch, and we will very carefully review your suggestions. Thank you so much, and with that, the hearing is adjourned.
Thank you.